everyone, and welcome to YarnGasm. I'm Kristen, and this is episode 202. If you are a returning viewer, welcome back, and if you are a new viewer, thank you so much for checking out my podcast. This is a podcast about knitting, spinning, hand dyeing yarn, sewing apparently now, and pretty much making all the things in Brooklyn, New York, where I'm from and I live. And as always, I'm just super happy that you are here, taking some time out of your busy day to chat about all those fun things with me. So, but yeah, I'm a day late. I was supposed to record yesterday. Thursdays are usually when I upload my podcast, but this week has gotten off to a rather slow start. I will admit, Monday and Tuesday, I was feeling a little burnt out. So I decided it's been a while since I just gave myself a couple of days to just unwind, relax, and let myself do whatever the heck it is I want to do at that moment, which was apparently a lot of sewing, which I'll talk about later in the episode. I did a lot of knitting, which I will also talk about. But yeah, it was nice to just kind of not, disconnect a little bit, unwind, and just take some time for myself to just recharge, if you will. Just FYI, there will be no shop update next week, just because Dennis and I, we are going up to the Cape for a full week. I will try and podcast, don't worry, while I'm up there. And but this weekend is our international friendly, my hand-dyed yarns, Voolenvine yarns will be having an international friendly shop update this Saturday, which is tomorrow. I'm looking at my calendar, which is July 30th, the last weekend in July. At 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. So I hope you can make it. I will talk about the shop update a little bit more at the end of the episode, so stay tuned. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into the show. I have a finished object, and I showed this to you last week. It was done, but not quite done. I think I had a couple more rows left on it to do, but these are 100% done. They're blocked, and they're beautiful, and they're ready to be added to my box of socks. And these are my Pebble Socks, a pattern by the lovely Mina Phillip of the Knitting Expat podcast. She has a collection called Beyond Vanilla. She has a pattern collection called Beyond Vanilla Socks, where I believe there are about 5 patterns to the collection of just these really simple but beautiful sock patterns. But this is her Pebble Sock pattern, and the yarn that I used was hedgehog fibers in the birthday cake colorway for the main color, and then the contrasting cuff, heel, and toe I used Frog Tree Petty Boo, which is a sport weight yarn, but it actually worked out really well. And yeah, Frog Tree Petty Boo, there's like some bamboo content in here, and yeah, it just worked out really well. It was a little, I noticed when compared to knitting with the regular fingering weight, when I switched to this is sport weight, it was a little fiddly, but it actually worked out quite well. I'm not sure what the colorway is, but yeah, it's just a bright neon. It's been languishing in my stash for quite some time, several years, and I was just really happy that I was able to use it. And I have enough left over, possibly for some mini skeins. I don't think I'm going to be using it again. Maybe, I don't know. I haven't thought about it yet, but they might the rest of the skein might just become mini skeins for when I do a swap or something. But yeah, I'm really happy with the way these turned out. Here's the second sock. And I believe this will be the 7th pair of socks from my box of socks. Because if you're not familiar, if you're just tuning in, I am hosting a year-long knit-along called the Box O Socks Cal, hashtag at the bottom. But yeah, it's a year-long knit-along, and the idea is to fill a box with at least 12 pairs of hand-knit socks by January 2017. So you have a full box of socks ready to wear and keep your feet toasty warm in the wintertime. So I'm right on track, I think, for my box of socks. And yeah, these are ready to be added to the box. So yay for one finished object. I do not have another finished object to share with you this week, but I do have some whips to share with you. Of course, like I say every time, when you finish a pair of socks, you have to cast on another pair. So I did, and this has been another skein of yarn that's been languishing in my stash for quite some time. I think no, not terribly long. I think I purchased this about maybe a little over a year ago. But this is some yarn from Fibrin Dye Works. Lisa, who is the awesome host of the 90% Knitting podcast, which if you have not checked it out, I highly recommend you do. I'm a little behind, but I really enjoy watching Lisa's podcast. She's funny, she's definitely got a sense of humor, and she's such a talented hand dyer. And she also does these things called reversibles, or no, inversible self-striping socks, where you get two separate skeins, and it kind of, if you love knitting self-striping yarn, it mixes things up. So one sock will knit up, you know, like let's say red, blue, red, blue, red, blue. The other one will knit up blue, red, blue, red, blue, red, with I think different varying widths of stripes. These are not inversibles, but I saw this colorway on her website, and anyway, ever since I quit drinking Diet Coke, and I want to say it's been about like 3 months since I've had Diet Coke. Yeah, I'm glad I've stopped drinking it. But anyway, coffee is slowly working its way into my life, and one of my favorite brands of coffee is Dunkin Donuts. Why? I don't know. It's just really good. It has that mellow kind of flavor to it. It's not powerful like Starbucks, although somebody did recommend I try Starbucks blonde roast, which I have tried. Not really a fan of it, I will say that, but Dunkin Donuts, yay, for the win. And I just saw this in my stash, and I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to cast on, time to make the donuts. So here's where I am so far. And how fun is that? I mean, I can't get enough of this colorway. It's just awesome. It's just the perfect shades of Dunkin Donuts logo. I don't know, but anyway, love working on these, and I just want to say thank you to everybody. In the past, I talked about what socks was it? I think, oh, for my Jinx yarn socks, my confetti and champagne socks that I knit out of Jinx yarns. I did an afterthought heel for that, and I talked about how fiddly afterthought heel socks were to knit, and I wasn't such a fan of them, but many of you got in touch with me and gave me your tips and tricks for knitting afterthought heel socks, so thank you so much. I have a lot of options to choose from now, and I think I'm gonna give afterthought heels another go with this pair. And I'm gonna try 2 different methods, seeing which works. I know Gigi from the Knit More Girls suggested a really cool technique, and I'm totally blanking on what it is. I have to check her email again. I'm so sorry. But yeah, I'm gonna try that one. And then there's the Susan B. Anderson method, which is in a pattern. I'm totally blank. I'm so unprepared this week, guys. I apologize. But anyway, Susan B. Anderson has a new pattern out, and she has apparently a very good technique for knitting afterthought heel socks, which I will put in the down bar if you're curious. So I'm going to be trying those 2 techniques and seeing which one works for me, if it works at all. So yay, I haven't given up on afterthought heels quite yet. But anyway, having fun knitting on these. And again, these are flipping everywhere. These are my carbons, my Knitter's Pride carbons, US size 1.5, US 1.5, 2.5 millimeter knitting needles. These are pretty much my go-to sock knitting needles. They're circulars. But yeah, I really enjoy working with them. So yeah, another sock on the go. The other thing that I've been working on is my Sofia Shawl. And I haven't made much progress on it, only because it's just like miles and miles of stockinette stitch, but here's where I am. And I'm totally blanking on the designer's name. Where are my show notes? Lyubov Shalnaya, which is a paid-for pattern download on Ravelry. But it's a beautiful shawl pattern. I'm really enjoying knitting on it. And right now it's just miles and miles of stockinette. I think I have like maybe about 10 more rows to go before I get to the next portion of lace. And then there's going to be more beading, there's going to be more noops. It's going to be wonderful. So, except last night I was knitting on it, a little tired, and I realized I made a mistake. Yeah. There's a little boo-boo in there. I might have to frog back. I think I'm definitely going to have to frog back a couple of rows, but no big deal. I'm not panicking. At least it's not part of an actual lace chart where, you know, because I like to live on the edge and I don't put lifelines, but I really should start putting lifelines into my lace knitting. So But anyway, loving the pattern, highly recommend it. And the other thing that I've been working on very, pretty much monogamously this past week is my shawl design, which I'm very excited about. And I just want to say a huge thank you to everybody who has been in touch with me about wanting to be a test knitter. I got so many emails, guys. Thank you. Very overwhelming, but very much appreciated. If you have not heard from me, I will get in touch with you letting you know. But just FYI, I'm all set with test knitters, so thank you so much. Please no more emails, but I genuinely appreciate you offering to test knit. But yes, well, I cannot show you what it actually looks like right now. I can show you the colorways that I'm using. It's going to be a triangular shawl, fairly, you know, intuitive knit, something that I've just been, we were going up to Cape Cod a couple weeks ago when I cast it on, and I just started knitting on it, and I was like, this would be a really great pattern. Like, if you don't want to knit on socks but you want something intuitive that you can just, you know, pick up whenever, wherever. That was the whole concept behind designing it. But it's going to be a 2 colorway pattern, and for the sample I'm using my colorway Neptunia on my singles base, which is Nouveau. It's 100% superwash merino singles. And it's called my Nouveau base, and this is Neptunia, and I'm using it in conjunction with Black Pearl on the same base. So, and I just really love the way these 2 colors play together. So yeah, having a lot of fun designing it. So yeah, that is pretty much all I have going on the needles at the moment. I do have to figure out, we're leaving for Cape Cod tomorrow, so I have to figure out if I want to bring anything else with me, because priorities, guys, knitting. I think I'm just going to be bringing my shawl design, my Sofia Shawl, my socks. I've already got it figured out, but you know, there's always that, what if I want to knit on something else, you know? So I don't know. It's always complicated, but maybe I will bring another pair of socks I can alternate between. I haven't figured it out yet, but I will figure it out at some point before we leave. Anyway, totally rambling. So anyway, I'm gonna move along to sewing because I've got lots to talk about sewing. As you can probably guess, I'm wearing my latest creation. But before I talk about that, let's talk about this business in the background. This is one I made earlier. It is another Hollyburn skirt, and as you know, Katie from Inside Number 23, another lovely podcast that I love, she's hosting a Hollyburn sew along, which is a pattern by Sewaholic Patterns. I will put a link in the down bar show notes. Sorry, my nose is itching like crazy again. But yeah, she is hosting a sew along, and I really could not wait to sew another one. Some fabric came in the mail. I posted about it on Instagram. Some fabric came in the mail. I got very excited about it, and I wanted to use it like immediately. And the Hollyburn skirt was the first pattern to come to mind. And as you know, and as you probably know, if you've been following the podcast, I had actually sewn another Hollyburn skirt before this version. So it was pretty much a no-brainer. I had the pattern all cut out. It was ready to go. I was like, let's do this. So I was able to just whip this up in an afternoon. It was super easy, very quick to put together. Highly recommend it. So if you're thinking about jumping into sewing, definitely join Katie's sew along. I'm definitely going to be joining in as well because I cannot make enough of these. I will say it's a great pattern if you are a beginner sewer, and you know, it's very simple. The pattern explains everything perfectly. The only alteration I made to this was the waistband. The waistband actually calls for some buttons, or just, it's very thick. I actually forgoed. I left out the button detail in it, and I just cut the waistband in half, like so it wouldn't be as wide as the pattern calls for. So it basically just has a 1.5 inch waistband. But anyway, I would definitely recommend this pattern for a fairly new sewer / beginner. There's definitely a lot of interest to it, a lot of sewing straight lines. I would say the pockets they seem a little challenging, but honestly, if you just follow the directions step by step, it's quite simple and pretty foolproof. I think the pocket construction is actually genius. So definitely look into it. I'll put a link to it in the show notes, which, by the way, and I always forget to mention this at the head of every episode, but show notes for every episode can be found at YarnGasmPodcast.com. So yeah, anything that I talk about will be put into the show notes, so do check those out. And I should also mention that we have a YarnGasm Ravelry group, which you should totally join. Lots of wonderful, exciting conversation going there, and where you can participate in all of our knit-alongs or sew-alongs. And again, this is stuff I should have said at the beginning of the episode. But anyway, it's happening now. So yeah, anyway, as far as other sewing things are concerned, I'm wearing my latest sewing creation, which I talked about in several episodes ago. It was a plan, it was a crazy idea that I had. As you know, I am a huge Game of Thrones fan, and Cersei is one of my favorite characters, mainly because I love her wardrobe. If I could wear those gowns every day with the flowing sleeves, I would gladly do it, but you know, a girl's got to run errands and go leave the house, and I would just feel a little awkward doing that in a flowing gown with princess sleeves and the like. So I thought, how cool would it be to create a dress inspired by some of Cersei's dresses in the show, something that I could wear every day without looking as if I was LARPing or live action role playing, you know, at the grocery store or something like that. So something that I could just, you know, was lightly inspired by Game of Thrones and her outfits. So I went on to McCall's, McCall's website. I actually searched several websites until I found a pattern that I thought was fitting for what I was trying to do. And I found this one on McCall's. It's M6959. So, and the thing with some of these patterns is it's kind of like house hunting. Like if you're looking, it's so random, but if you're looking for a new house, sometimes you have to look past the ugly to see, you know, like if you walk into a house and you see the walls are painted like this hideous color of olive, you know, you have to just imagine the walls white or something that you would enjoy those wall colors to be, if that makes any sense. So when I search for patterns, that's kind of what I have to do, because clearly this fabric right here is, a lot of patterns just choose, like for their models and samples, they choose really horrendous patterns. Not that this is horrendous, but stuff that might not be to my taste, or if you're pattern hunting, you might not be attracted to that pattern because you might not like what color that fabric is or the texture or anything. So my advice is, like, when you are pattern hunting, you know, look at the shape, try to look past it. Like this, I just saw the shape of it and I was like, that could actually work. I found some fabric that I wanted to use for the outfit, and I just tried, like, in my mind, I just tried to envision this dress with that fabric. And so yeah, the fabric is by Kaufman Manchester, textured yarn dye solid shirting in appropriately wine, which if you guys watch Game of Thrones, you know Cersei loves wine. So it was an easy decision right there, and it matched one of the dresses that I had seen on, you know, in one of the episodes. And then of course the contrasting color is in this really beautiful camel color. So, and I ordered, what was it, 3 yards of the wine color, which was, I have to say, I was playing some serious fabric chicken, cutting out the pieces. I really could have used like another half yard, or at least I should have gotten 4 yards. But anyway, the pattern that I was following was for a shorter skirt, but I wanted the longer skirt, or the longer version. So I was doing a little franken piecing there, and anyway, I just barely made it fit. And the other adjustment that I did when cutting out the pieces, again, I made a muslin of the bodice, and it just worked. I was expecting it to be like, you know, like, okay, the ease is gonna be crazy, you know, I'm gonna have to do a little adjusting and whatnot, but I was surprised. I think there's only about maybe like ½ an inch to an inch of ease in this, so the only major adjustments that I had to do was truing up the size from my bust to my waist. So my bust is a smaller size and my waist is a one size larger, so I just trued it up. I wanted it to have a little bit of ease, but thankfully it wasn't like a lot, so it just turned out perfectly the way I wanted it to. Because if you do look at some of Cercei's, you know, wrap dresses, they're not tight. They do have like a little bit of ease. They just kind of like fall over and drape down, which this dress definitely does. And then the bias tape. This is all bias tape. I made it from scratch, which I will say I'm not a fan of making my own bias tape, but I will say the results are totally worth it. Yeah, it's a lot of cutting, sewing on the bias. I had to do a lot of seam ripping because I kept sewing. If you know, when you make bias tape, you have to sew the seams a certain way. That got a little fiddly. And then ironing. And I actually purchased a tool to create bias tape, which let me get right now. So if you're familiar with sewing, you've probably seen these, but you can get these on Amazon pretty cheap. These are little bias tape makers. Let me see. They come in different sizes. There we go. And the way it works is once you have all your bias strips sewn together, you basically take this little tool, slide the fabric in, and then it comes out this end and folds the fabric over on itself. And then you take your iron and you take your finger and, you know, with your iron in one hand, basically you just, as the fabric comes out of this bias tape feeder, I guess, you take your iron and just iron and chase the tool as the fabric comes out and just drag it along. So yeah, that took quite a while, but these little tools are genius. Highly recommend them if you're interested in creating your own bias tape. Again, I just got mine on Amazon for, I don't know, like 10 bucks, not even. So yeah, really handy tool. Again, a lot of work, but totally worth it in the end, because you can do a lot of fun stuff with bias tape, and especially finishing edges. I did not have to do any facings on this. The bias tape pretty much just covered over those raw edges and just stitched it on. So let me stand up so you can see. And yeah, here is the tie. It just, you know, ties at the side, comes out at the edge. And the pattern actually instructed to, let me see if I can get this little thread hanging out there, but the pattern actually instructed to stitch on either side of the bias tape to fold, you know, keep it together, but I really didn't like the way that was going to look. So because I'm a glutton for punishment, I just blind stitched the seams together, which I won't lie, took a lot of time. I just popped on some podcasts and just stitched away, but the results were just so worth it. And I love how you can't see the stitches in there, and it just looks so polished and clean. Yeah, the only place I really stitched was up along the edge of the bias tape on, you know, the neckline and down. So, but I really love the way this turned out. But overall, just a really simple pattern to whip up. A lot of stowing in straight lines. I will say probably the most complicated part was, well, the dart for me, like, I don't have a problem doing darts, but yeah, there are darts and sewing the bias tape. But otherwise, if you have like the pre-made bias tape, you should have no problem with it. So yeah, again, that was pattern by McCall's M6959. So highly recommend it. Obviously, because I had so much fun putting this together, I wanna sew like 20 more. I don't know, we'll see. But yeah, otherwise, oh, and yeah, it has I chose 1/4" sleeves because yeah, I ran out of fabric, and but I actually like the way the 1/4" sleeves turned out. I like the effect it has. It took me a little extra longer because I went a little crazy with the finishing techniques. Earlier this week, when I was kind of like in my slump, I signed up for a craftsy class, like you do, with Allison Smith. It's called Couture Finishing Techniques, and you guys, I love Allison Smith. She is such a wonderful teacher. And her teaching style is just really great. I highly recommend it. She just shows you how to put like those extra fine touches to your sewing so it lasts longer, it looks neater, and just some really, really wonderful, great techniques. Definitely check it out if you have a chance. It might be on sale right now, I'm not sure. But yeah, basically what I did was, the only part that I used, and the only part that I serged on this was setting in the sleeves and the hem. But for all my other seams, I used pinking shears and a stitch, an extra reinforcing stitch on either side of each seam. So, you know, it just adds that. Apparently using pinking shears is actually a vintage kind of, it adds that vintage flair to all your dressmaking. If that makes any sense. So yeah, I just had a lot of fun putting that together, and I will say my my pressing skills have definitely improved. Before I was doing, you know, just like pressing everything, like getting that flat straight line, but no, that can actually, you know, distort your fabric, and you don't need to put all that pressure on your fabric when you press it. You know, just add a little bit, you know, light touches, a lot of steam, you know, just use your hand. She basically says using your hand is the best pressing tool that you can have. That and a little bit of steam in the tip of your iron. So definitely give that a check. Like definitely just give that class, you know, a look-see, and you might like it. I also just enjoy watching, like listening to her talk and watching her do things. It's actually quite relaxing. So she has several craftsy classes out there, and I'm thinking about signing up for the lace, her lace, sewing with lace class. She also has one on corsetry, which I'm not quite ready for yet. And she also has lingerie, which I'm not quite ready for yet either. But I think I'm going to sign up for her lace class, just because I love lace, and it would be awesome to sew with it. But yes, and I also ordered her book. Yeah, I'm totally fangirling. I ordered her book, Dressmaking, which should be here this week. But yeah, I think that is it for sewing, except the reason why I got a late start recording today, because I realized that McCall's, Butterick, Vogue patterns, and Quick Sew, they're all under the same umbrella, but they were having a huge sale today, so I fell down that rabbit hole, and I ended up ordering maybe like 5 new patterns. So they were all like, I think like $2.50 US. So score, cannot wait for those to get here so I can dive into them. But yeah, so I don't know, if you're watching this today, you might be able to jump. It's Friday, so if you have time and you're watching this, definitely check it out. Some really good deals on there, and I stocked up on some Gertie patterns, so yay, exciting. But anyway, that said, I'm gonna move along to Ask Away, because we have some questions in there. And yeah, Ask Away is a segment where you can actually go into the YarnGasm Revelry group. There's a thread, ask me a question, and I will do my best to address it and answer it on the podcast. If not, I just answer it right there if it's time sensitive, what have you. But we have 2 questions today. And the first question is from Pink Peking. She says, Kristen, can I ask which books / online tutorials helped you adjust sewing patterns to fit? I have a craftsy class, adjust the bust, however it seems complicated, having to cut and stick paper pieces in lots of different places. How do you fit your dresses so perfectly without a sloper? Your skills are getting better all the time, and it's really evident in the pieces that you have made recently. Well done. Thank you so much. Yeah, I will say most of the time, this is gonna sound terrible, but I wing it. I know I'm still working on my sloper. I've been terrible about getting it going. I took my measurements and everything. Now it's all about drafting out the actual sloper. And it's definitely a process. It's a step-by-step process that's, I find, quite intimidating. I talked about it with Gigi. We were emailing back and forth, and she's like, you know what, just work on it 30 minutes at a time. Put it down, reward yourself, and then come back to it at a later time. So I think once I get back from Cape Cod, I'm going to implement that method of actually getting my sloper done, because after that, I think it'll just be like a no-brainer as far as adjusting patterns and whatnot. But for the most part, I have either been winging it or just lucky. Because as far as adjusting patterns, the only thing I've really had to do is, you know, look at the finished garment measurements. When you get your pattern, normally on the pattern pieces, they'll tell you what the finished measurement is. And then I compare that to my actual size, and then it's like, okay, I might have to either take away 1/4 of an inch from this side, 1/4 of an inch from that side, or true up the bust size to another size on the waistline. But I highly recommend, if you're doing it that way, get yourself a French ruler. That will help you whenever you have to true up any size, whenever you have to true up any lines on a pattern. And let me show you what that is. I showed it off. Here you go. I think I showed this off on the last episode, but this is a French ruler. So the way you use the French ruler is, let's say you have a larger bust and a smaller waist. You lay your pattern out flat, and then you find the point on the pattern for your bust measurement, and then you look at the point on the pattern for your waist measurement, and then you basically just connect those two lines with the ruler, finding where the curve matches the curve on the pattern, and then you take a pencil. I recommend a pencil, but you can use a marker if you're daring, but you just won't be able to erase it. Draw the line connecting those two sizes together, and that's where you make your cut. And then the other thing is, if let's say the size, it's a wonky size that you have to adjust, like, you know, you're dealing with 1/4 inches or 5/8 of an inch, the smallest size still has about maybe like an inch of ease that I don't want. That's why it's always important to make a muslin, but you measure out from that established line, like, okay, a 1/4 inch at every seam, I just want to subtract. So you find that 1/4 inch measurement, and I just dot along that line. I just draw dots and then connect them all together, and to create that new measurement line. I hope that makes sense. I know it sounds very confusing, but that's the method behind my madness. But I know once that sloper is done, it'll just make the whole process go so much more smoothly and more accurate. But yeah, lately I've just been lucking out with the sizing and the ease and everything, especially with this pattern. I did not have to do much. I did not have to make many adjustments at all, but I hope that answers your question. And we have another question. And the next question is from Trini Girl. Trini Girl on Ravelry asks, curious about how you store your handmade knits. Right now I have mine stored in my closet, which has a wire rack / bar system. I feel this setup is not ideal for delicate knits. Thanks. Yeah, I'm terrible when it comes to storing my hand knits. If you can see right here, this is where all my current hand knits are living. It's probably not the best place. If I were doing things correctly or appropriately, I would probably put them in one of those, you know, when you purchase a sheet set, like a bed sheet set or a duvet cover from the store, I always, you know, try to save those zip bags to either put some mothballs in there or like a lavender sachet to prevent the evil moths from getting in there. And then most of my most worn winter accessories, they all just get stuffed in the closet in a bag. I know it sounds terrible, but they get the most love during the winter, and so far they fared pretty well. Some hats bit the dust, but again, I would definitely recommend saving those duvet cover little zip bags or sheet set clear zip bags, and just storing all your stuff in there and putting like a lavender sachet in there or some mothballs or some cedar balls, and that should do the trick. I should practice what I preach, but that would be my suggestion. So I hope that answers your questions. Again, if you have a question for me about the podcast, knitting, spinning related, or sewing related, or what have you, just leave them in the Ask Away thread in the YarnGasm Ravelry group, and I will do my best to answer them every episode. So that said, I am going to move along to shop update, because we are having a shop update tomorrow, Saturday, July 30th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. As you know, it's the last weekend of the month, so that's when I have my international friendly shop updates. And again, anybody living, no matter where you live, you can always purchase yarn. That doesn't just, my international shop updates aren't just for people that don't live in the US. If you live in the US, you can totally purchase yarn from my website at that time, but I just try to switch up the times a little bit to make it more convenient for people who usually have a hard time making the 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time updates, just FYI. So let me go get my yarn. Okay, so as I mentioned, this week got off to a rather slow start, so unfortunately this will be a rather, not terribly small, but a smallish update. There isn't going to be as much yarn as I normally would have, but there will be yarn. Don't worry, there will be yarn. And I just want to give a quick shout out to Nina from the This Old Knit podcast. Hi, Nina. She suggested that, or last week I just kind of threw the idea out there that, you know, each week I would do like a different theme to decide, you know, which colorways I'll have in my shop every week. Just do like a little select color palette, if you will. And Nina suggested that I do a beach theme, and I thought that was a brilliant idea. So I dyed up all my favorite beach inspired, or you know, colorways that remind me of the beach or summer for this update. So far I only have 4 colorways to share with you, but I'm going to be doing some more dyeing today after I'm done recording and editing and getting this up. But yes, what I have to show you now is I will have some Neptunia, and here it is on... I will have these dyed across several bases as usual, but this is it on my blitzed base, which has some gold stellina. This is it on my Volca base, which is my superwash nylon, merino nylon cashmere base. And then I will also have some Come On Barbie Let's Go Party, which is, it's been a while since I dyed that up. But again, here it is on blitzed and Volca. There you go, lots of speckles and hot pinks and blues in there. I will have Beach Bum. See, here it is. Here's Beach Bum, which I really like. I love this. I don't know what it is. It's just so, yeah, I don't know what it is about this colorway that I love so much. It's just so random, like the sandy browns and the beige, and then like these really shocking flecks of neon orange and hot pink. Let's see if we can get some hot pink in there. There's some hot pink. Yeah. So just a really fun colorway. And this is it on Narwhal and Volca. And then this is a colorway that I have not dyed up in quite a while, and I gave it a bit of a facelift. I wasn't really pleased with the way, I think this is because why I haven't been dyeing it for a while, but I just wasn't enjoying the way it was turning out, or I thought it could use a little improvement. So I toyed around with the formula a little bit and gave a little facelift to Ocean in a Shell, which is my colorway inspired obviously by the sea and an Arcade Fire song. But yeah, it's just this really light, delicate, kind of like seashell pink, and then these flecks of blue. And then I added some brown, like dark brown, subtle speckles to it. And here it is on my blitzed base, and this is it on Narwhal. So like I said, this is all I have to show right now, but I'm going to be dyeing some more colorways. I think I'm going to be dyeing some Swedish Fish, which is a bright red tonal. I'm going to be trying to dye some Beach House, which is also like a tonal brown, like a very light, subtle, beachy brown, and we'll see what else I feel like dyeing up later today. But anyway, I hope you can make it. It's tomorrow. Again, the shop update is going to be tomorrow, July 30th at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time. And yeah, what else did I want to say? Oh, again, no shop update the following week because I'll be out of town, but I'll be back the following week, the week of August, the second week in August. I'll be back, and that is when I will be releasing the Gory Details colorways. So I can't believe it's been 3 months since the last installment. So I'm very excited to get those in the shop, and those of you who've been patiently waiting for those colorways to be made available, they'll finally be available. And I will have Fig Bash in stock. I will have some Assaulted by Bears in stock, and I will also have some Mystery in stock. So I hope you guys are excited about that because I sure am. And yes, there will be more Outlander for those of you that are curious. But yeah, that said, I am gonna move along to Blather. So as for Blather, what do I have to talk about? Yeah, it's been quite a creative week. My office or my studio started out fairly organized, and then by the end of the week, it's Friday now, it's more put together than it was yesterday, but it's, you know, there was a lot of creativity happening, let's just say, in this room. But anyway, Dennis had to work late last night, and it was, I like to call like nights when I have to eat alone. I usually call those my my lonely sushi nights, because that's a night when I order in sushi for myself, which is quite depressing. I feel like sushi is like a group activity. It's like one of those foods that where everyone can partake in it and share, and you know, like, oh, can I try that? Can I try that? You know, and when you're just eating it on your own, it's kind of like, yeah, especially when it's order in sushi. That's just not fun. I really got to start putting more effort into my lonely dinner nights, don't I? But anyway, I'm really making this depressing. But otherwise, yeah, it's the weekend. We are heading up to Cape Cod for a whole week. We are bringing the cat, so she has a nice little car ride ahead of her. I'm sure she's going to hate us for it, but once she's there, she's going to love it. We're bringing her leash. I called the vet to find out what kind of flea medicine we should be giving her. They recommended Frontline, which is they're little drops that you put on like their shoulders, and it's not a pill or a flea collar or anything. It's just like a little drop that you put on their shoulders, and that's supposed to do the trick. So picked up some of that this week. Yeah, just really excited to get out of the city and, you know, relax. Granted, I'm more of an indoorsy kind of girl. I will be honest, like, I like the beach within reason, like in doses, in small doses, but I know once we get up to Cape Cod, Dennis is going to want to go to the beach every single day, and I'm not going to want to do that. But I have my SPF 100 already. I stocked up on that. I have my beach hat, my sunglasses, beach chair. I want to be as comfortable as possible on the beach. And the other thing is we're gonna go on hikes. I have to bring sneakers, and I will be honest, I'm not a sneaker type of girl, but I will be bringing sneakers. If I have to wear sneakers, they will be Converse, because those are the only sneakers I ever wear, because they come in so many different colors. I used to have a pair of leopard print Converse sneakers. Those were my favorite. I should really find another pair of those. But otherwise, I'm just looking, as I mentioned, I'm very excited to be getting out of the city, eating lots of lobster and seafood and knitting. Oh my gosh, there will be knitting. I will be waking up super early, hanging out on the porch and knitting with the cat. We will definitely be visiting some yarn shops, some new ones that I have never heard of until one of you lovely viewers let me know about them. There is the Pearl in Sandwich. I think it's just called Pearl, P-U-R-L. And it's in Sandwich, Massachusetts. And then there's also the Black Pearl up in Provincetown. So I think we are going to be staying in Provincetown for a night or two. You know, our plans are still up in the air, but once we're up there, I think we're definitely going to be checking out the Black Pearl, and I cannot wait. So there will be that, and then otherwise, yeah, we're just, you know, it's Friday, I'm wrapping things up, going to dye some yarn. Later on, I'm meeting up with a friend. She's in from San Francisco, so you know, Dennis and I, her and her husband are friends of ours, and she's in town for business. So we're gonna meet up with her for some drinks and dinner, and then tomorrow, pack it all up and head up to the Cape. So yeah, it should be a lot of fun. I'm trying to think what else. Yeah, it's been pretty much just a nice relaxing week. I didn't get as much work as I would have liked to have gotten done, but I needed the time, so it felt really good to just relax and just be creative and you know, make things. So but otherwise, yeah, I think that is it for this week. I will definitely be podcasting from Cape Cod, so stay tuned for that. I can't guarantee it will be uploaded next week, but I will definitely be recording an episode. So otherwise, that said, happy knitting, and I will see you next time. Bye. Yeah, they're just, oh. And this is the Pebble Socks, or this, peas and carrots, peas and carrots, peas and carrots. My hair is so frizzy. What's it doing? Okay.